Yo guys, what is up? It's your girl, Summerwoods, and I've never made a video like this, so this is super weird for me, but I awoke in a cold sweat the other night just thinking I need to tell everyone what my top 10 favorite albums are and rank them because I think it'll be really interesting for you guys to hear it because I really don't think it's what you're gonna be expecting, but I just really want to do this little personal chat with y'all and so you can help to get to know me better. And yeah, but really quick before we get started, I just want to mention my favorite musical artist of all time, me, because the music you're hearing in the background is actually my music, and I'll put some links in the description so you can find the music whenever I decide to release the music, so it's not out yet. Anyway, let's get started. What is going on with my hair? So the first album I wanted to talk about is Wasteland Baby by Hozier. So when I first heard this album, I hated it. That's gonna be a running theme for a lot of these albums. But I didn't get it. I was just listening to it. I was like, what is this echoey bullshit? I don't like it. But I listened to it again. I really started getting it, and I was like, this is moving my soul right now. This is nuts. So a lot of this whole album feels like it was written by like a horny guy in the 1800s with a quill pen, but also it's modern and beautiful, and it also sounds like it's like from the future because it's about the end of the world, and it just has so many beautiful sentiments on it, and it just feels like so many little like raw, real sentiments and emotions, and the lyrics are just so clever at times, like movement, like I see you're a verb in motion, you're like Fred Astaire in sequence. There's all these cool just lyrics that come out of nowhere. Shrike is one of the most interesting and disgusting and cool love songs ever because there's this bird called a shrike which impales its prey on a thorn, and he's comparing himself to this bird who needs this thorn, this tool to survive. So he's the Shrike, and this girl he loves is like his thorn that he worships, which is so weird, but it works so well, and it feels violent and romantic and visceral, and it's amazing. And there's just so many moments on that album like that. And the last track, Wasteland Baby, really feels like the end credits to The World. Like it feels like if the world really were ending and you were like thinking back on everything that ever happened in humanity, that's the song you would be hearing. It's just like so calm and so, it's almost like Clair de Lune, how it's just kind of big and grand, but it's also so small and just kind of personal, and I really love that album. So the next album, I don't know if any of you guys know this, but my favorite genre of music is hip hop, and I don't really showcase it much on my channel, but I love hip hop, and a lot of these albums are here. Look at my beautiful notes. A lot of these albums are hip hop albums, and so the next album I want to talk about is 2001 by Dr. Dre. I think what I really love about this album is that Dr. Dre is not only a great rapper, he is like the greatest producer of all time. Like all these beats have such punch to them, such energy, such gangster, like suave. Like I love The Chronic, but The Chronic feels kind of cloudy and kind of bloated with the music. There's a lot of that wee, but the 2001 just feels smooth. It feels kind of classy and kind of, the lyrics aren't classy at all. There's a lot of misogyny and violence, but that stuff aside, the technical aspect of what I'm talking about is just, it's so pleasing to the ears. There's so many little iconic lines in here that I think about all the time, like just the most random thing, but like my G'd up apparel. Like who else says my G'd up apparel? What's so great about the beats and the punchy production is that the lyrics just click into it so hard, better than like The Chronic, even though The Chronic's cool, but like the lyrics click into it so hard. Like when you hear the Watcher just sounds like it's going ding 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 ding. It's like it's punching so hard, and then Dre comes in with this things just ain't the same for gangsters, and it goes like this, okay? And I think it's explosive when Nate Dogg is like, "Oh my damn hoe still get with me." Like there's a little in the background that perfectly lines up with what he's saying, and that happens so often on this album. Also, Ms. Rock, like most underrated female rapper ever. She's so cool! And just like every song, each song on this album kind of like gets to the point immediately and leaves. I'm doing this a lot. It's a violent album. Okay, so my top 8 favorite album, gotta go with Mutations by Beck. You probably already know that I'm a fan of Beck. If you've seen my previous videos, I did do a medley of his music, but this, I feel like, in my humble opinion, is his best album. I was really into this album in high school, but I didn't get it until I was 21. And then it became one of my favorite albums ever because I had a kind of a fling with this guy and we did some things and you know the story, you know my vibe in the club. So I was with this guy and then we kind of got involved and then he moved away and it was this kind of feeling of desolate rejection and everything felt kind of empty for a while and that's when I really got this album. Like when I hear the word desolate, I think I learned the word desolate from this album. Like whenever I hear the word desolate, I just think of this album because it is the definition of desolate. Like it's almost like a dream or a nightmare that you have that's kind of like weirdly sexually charged, but you're just kind of lost in this old dilapidated town and you're lost and everything's kind of like crumbling around you metaphorically and physically and you're just like, where am I? You know, that's what the album feels like and it's incredible. Every song has some kind of like really iconic melody, weird noises going on and Tropicalia is, I actually think it's Beck's best song. It's just so good. The chords are so cool. It just sounds like an old like, it sounds old and modern at the same time and it just, but the second best song I think is Sing It Again. I really understood that when this guy that I loved just moved and you really feel this kind of emotion and rawness from Beck that's really beautiful. So my number 7 pick is Manners by Passion Pit. Passion Pit was kind of the first band I got into. And this was a long time ago. This was like when I started middle school. I don't even remember how I got into them. I just kind of heard them on the radio or something. And ever since then, it's been the kind of music that I wanted to make. These are these really good pop songs, just amazing like indie pop songs that are just have a little bit of weirdness and sprinkle in there to make it really interesting, but at the same time really pleasing to the ear and familiar, which is exactly the kind of music I want to write, and hopefully I already am writing. So this album has this just beautiful punchy production and all these interesting sounds going on for like the drums and just cool guitar noises, cool synths, cool it's weird. I love weird music that's also kind of sonically palatable. Like you know, Sleepyhead is a weird song. There's this weird sample of this opera person singing and it's a song about someone who like falls asleep and catches on fire and there's weird stuff going on. It's like Rip Van Winkle, but at the same time it feels so familiar. It feels like a song you know and it feels palatable, but at the same time it's so weird. I love it. Eyes as Candles is a song that really made me cry multiple times. Just the ending to that song when everything kind of builds up and he's like questioning his faith with God and he's like, I'm used to your absence. That is just makes me cry every time. So pretty. Okay, if you've been watching my videos recently, you know I'm really into Weird Al. And I'm so into him that actually in my newest music video you can see my lovely references to his stuff all over the place because I love him. Shit. So for my 6th album pick, it was just kind of arbitrary. I can't pick a favorite Weird Al album because I love them all so much. But Poodle Hat really has some of my favorite songs by him ever. And it was a hard decision because I love Running with Scissors, I love Straight Outta Linwood, I love Mandatory Fun. Not enough people talk about Mandatory Fun, but it has so many good rock songs on it that are just so funny and so good and so catchy. It's really good. But Poodle Hat has something special about it. I don't know exactly what it is, but like Hardware Store is my favorite Weird Al song. It's really hard to say that because there's so many that I love, but Hardware Store has this energy to it where it's like, it's just so happy. You can feel the like positivity that Al just radiates in that song when he's like, I can't wait, I can't wait. It just sounds like a happy thing. It's just, and so funny and so weird. And also I memorized the entire middle section to that song where he's like, Alan Mitchell's Jobble Fetus, toilet seats, electrocute generators, matches, salt and pepper shakers. So you know, I'm a big fan. Also, Why Does This Always Happen to Me is just an incredible pop song with an incredible piano solo in the middle, and it's just too funny. It's just too funny. Like, why'd they have to interrupt The Simpsons just for this? It's like the funniest thing that Al has ever said. Well, it's really hard. Again, it was so hard to choose a favorite Al anything because he's just invented it. Also, Bob blows my mind. Just the way that everything is a palindrome. Even the title of the song is a palindrome, and he still makes it all sound like something that Bob Dylan would totally say. And it's, how does he, I don't know. The Polka Medley is one of my favorite polka medleys by him. It's just, I love all those songs, and I think it's all so funny. And the jazz cover of Last Night by The Strokes is so cool. Like, I wish there was a full jazz cover of that song because it feels like that's how it was meant to be. Like, I've known eBay since I was a kid, and I used to listen to it on this little iPod Nano, and it was the funniest thing ever to me then, and it's still the funniest thing ever to me now. Like, it's just so solid, and it somehow makes more sense than the original song, and but it was really hard for me to say that Hardware Store is my favorite song because it's like neck and neck with Genius in France. Genius in France is seriously one of the most amazing songs I've ever heard. It is incredibly packed with just joy and hilarity and cleverness and beautiful melodies, and I like Frank Zappa, but I'm not even a huge fan, but he somehow turns this Zappa vibe into something that really just touches me right here, and I'm just like, this is the most amazing song I've ever heard. Every single section has its own like iconic, beautiful thing going on, and it's makes me so happy, just the way everything flows into the next thing. It just puts a huge smile on my face, makes me laugh, and it makes my head just explode, just like Scanners. I love Poodle Hat! So the next album I want to talk about is Since I Left You by the Avalanches. You might have heard of this album if you know the song Frontier Psychiatrist, which is a really cool song. I think it was like a meme at some point, I don't even know, I think that's how I found the album, but I just listened to the whole album and it was like, this is like the happiest, most beautiful little nostalgic fairy tale thing I can even imagine. It's just so good. The album to me, like, it feels personal. It feels like a bunch of little memories that you've had, like all the samples of like people talking in the background and going ha ha, like it feels like you're at a party that you went to as a kid or something, and you're kind of like looking around and everything has this like faded vibe to it, but everyone's partying and it's just so full of love and just delight. That's what I would describe it as. And people a lot of the times say like, oh, people who sample songs, they're just so lazy. People who sample, and I think you need to listen to this album to realize that sampling is an art, and it's a hard art. It, like, if you go and actually look up the samples used in the song and you listen to the original song, I think there's like an Isley Brothers song, like Tell Me If You Need It Again, and there's like a Madonna song, I think Holiday is sampled. Stuff like that. Like, if you go back and listen to the original song, it just sounds like a totally different song. They sprinkle a little bit of like avalanche snow on it and just make it into their own thing. And there's also an art to choosing which samples you're gonna use and which voice samples and where you're gonna put them and if you're gonna slow them down or if you're gonna reverse them, like in Electricity with that sampled bass line, and then it reverses and it just sounds like, it sounds like your spine is like wiggling out of your body. It's just so cool. That doesn't sound cool though. I don't want to lose my spine. There's a lot of, you can feel that a lot of work went into this. It's not lazy, you know? Not to mention the transitions between every song are incredible. It just sounds like it's flowing right into the next song. Sometimes you don't even notice. And then the song is at a completely different vibe and you didn't even notice the change. It's just, you have to listen to it all at once and it just sounds so, it makes me so happy. It just has this electric energy to it. Where it feels alive, but it also feels so like nostalgic, and it feels so nostalgic and timeless that I honestly had no idea when it came out. Usually I can listen to an album and be like, okay, this is like late 70s or this is like early 2000s or something, but when I heard this I was like, I genuinely have no clue when this came out, but it actually came out in 2000. And you could have told me it came out in 2000 or last year or 1987 and I would have believed you. It's just so timeless.